Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Turn Your Website into a Lead Generator. The webinar presentation will be 30 minutes, followed by a Q&A session, brought to you by Senior Living Smart. At this point, I would like to introduce our presenter, Debbie Howard, CEO of Senior Living Smart. Debbie?
Thanks, Andrea. The focus of today's webinar is how to convert website traffic into exclusive, unshared, and organic leads. So here's the agenda. We want to discuss how to engage website visitors, how to keep them on your website longer and reduce bounce rate, how to get prospects and consumers to come back throughout their journey, how to get prospects and consumers to bring other decision makers to your website, how to take anonymous website traffic and turn it into qualified prospects and leads. And to do that, today we're going to focus on 4 strategies: content or inbound marketing, online assessments, live chat, and interactive room planners with analytics. So prospects are on your website every day. They've landed on your community or brand, and they're there for a reason. They have questions. They're looking for information. And if they don't find it quickly and easily, they will move on to the next site, maybe a competitor or a third-party lead provider. So today we're going to focus on 4 low-cost strategies to convert your existing website traffic. This is not an SEO or SEM presentation, but if you would like us to offer a webinar on how to drive more traffic to your website, please let us know in the survey at the end. So there are 1.5 million searches for senior care and senior housing on average per week. That's pretty astounding. And we don't have an issue with lead generation. 87% of all sales now begin online, and the leads are qualified. 45% of the prospects on your website will make a purchasing decision within 12 months. And 75% of those prospects will buy from the first person or community that connects with them, that engages them, shows empathy, answers questions, and provides helpful information and resources. Websites are no longer marketing tools to create one-way messaging just to promote a brand. They're meeting places to engage with prospects, to learn about their wants and needs, and to help them through their journey. Most websites that I see today are the All About Me show. Our story, our team, find our community, why we are awesome. And oh, by the way, do you want to sign up for a tour? But to really engage with today's consumer, whether it's the adult children or seniors themselves, your website has to evolve into an all about the consumer or prospect site. Remember, this is the have it your way generation. So the good news is that there are low-cost ways to enhance the website you already have. So let's get started. Consumers visit your website in different stages of readiness, and based on that stage, they're looking for information that's useful for where they are in their journey. So someone in the very beginning stages of awareness is looking for different information and resources than someone who's already planning a move. Our job is to provide content and engagement for each step of the journey, to create a resource-rich and helpful experience that will encourage prospects to spend more time on our website and come back often for more information throughout their buying decision. Studies have shown that consumers come back to websites 7.8 times prior to choosing a community. So you want to be the website that draws them back, that offers content no matter where they are in their journey, that adds value and answers questions. So most websites are only addressing the action stage prospect, those that are in crisis, those that are urgent. But this approach only addresses about 10% of the opportunities. 90% of the people on your website are not in an action stage. So it's important that we connect with people earlier because we want to get higher functioning residents that are less acute, less risk, stay longer, and help us create stabilized occupancy and allow them to stay in our communities longer. So let's break it down. Content and inbound marketing is a great strategy for people who are in the very beginning stages of awareness and research. So in awareness, they're just trying to figure out, well, what's this all about? And what is IL and AL and memory care? What does it mean? How is it different than skilled nursing? How do I decide? And research is really digging into the daily life. What's it going to be like? Am I going to fit in? Is this the right match? So in the early stages of awareness and research, they're looking for information to help them make an informed decision. So this is where educational blogs, guides, tips, checklists, and content that represents community life work really well. The right mix includes blogs that are educational articles, opt-ins that require contact information in exchange for the valuable content that they want to download, and free downloads that do not require the collection of contact information. If prospects see you as a resource, they will return to your website throughout their journey. Here's a great example. The B Group has a very visually appealing website that's very interactive, resource rich. This is just a screenshot of one little part of their website. But as you can see, it engages people and provides information to encourage them to come back as they need different types of resources. So in the beginning, they might be interested in the piece that's on the bottom right, which is the complete guide for how to tour a retirement community. What questions to ask, what to take into consideration, how to compare those. When you're touring 5 to 7 communities, which is average, after a while it's all a blur. So having this guide and all the tools that are included in the guide is very helpful. People who are in later stages, maybe in planning, may want to download the piece that's 2 blocks over on the bottom that says Understanding Senior Living Care and Fees, because they're researching and they're trying to figure out, how can I afford this and what are some of the funding vehicles? Another example is Atria. Atria has a very well-organized website with lots of content. They have an inbound strategy that draws prospects in, and because of the quality of the content, they convert anonymous website visitors into leads with contact information that they provide in exchange for the right and the ability to download all of these great tools. Let's take a look at some of the content in more detail. So on the left, you can see these are all of the things, these aren't even all of them. This is a selection of the content that they have available. Free guides. This guide on the right is they have one for family members and one for seniors themselves about how to transition. They also have information about funding options, tax deductibility, and many other topics for every stage that will bring prospects back to the site. By adding a form or a landing page prior to the download process, you can gather contact information and generate leads. It's good to have both free content that does not require prospects to provide contact information, such as calendars, sample menus, newsletters, and floor plans, and also to create high-value guides, checklists, and tips that do require the exchange of information. This is a 20-page transitions guide, and this is so valuable that prospects will definitely be willing to complete a form in order to download the content. If you're thinking, I don't have time to write this, have no fear, we can recommend someone that can help. And we also offer a white paper on our website that was written by Senior Housing News called What Every Family Needs to Know About Paying for Senior Care. Members can download it and add it to their website with a contact form or landing page to gather leads. These are the 4 most important questions that your website has to answer. Where will I live? What will I do? Can I afford it? And who will take care of me if and when I need it? So keep this in mind as you develop your content marketing strategy. Another strategy to engage website visitors and get them to come back to your website throughout their journey is to add an online self-assessment tool. Rubrik has created an assessment that keeps prospects on the website an average of 9 minutes. There are assessments such as, is it safe to drive? And is it time to get help? There's a new assessment, is this dementia, that's in production. As you can see from the slide, these assessments can be branded and customized. And the intent is to help your prospects match to the right kind of care, to help find resources at the right time, to make sure that you are the right place that people come back to, and that you're supporting them throughout their journey so that they will bring their family members back, recommend you to others, and engage with your brand. The rubric tool assesses the prospect's current situation, their care needs, and their readiness to make a move or get more help. This is the basic functionality of the assessment. It uses multiple choice questions posed in simple language. There's an explanation on the right side of each question to provide context. There are 23 more questions that explore ADL needs, memory issues, finances, and mindset. After completing the survey, prospects receive a care needs score that takes their answers and reflects it back to them in a story format that summarizes their situation, their needs, concerns, and preferences. It also matches them to the best options for them to consider in terms of care and housing. These reports are personalized and they can be saved and shared with others, family members, and even the community sales team. This will keep them on your website longer and bring them back as their situation changes, or to access all of the valuable information and content, such as explanations of every care option, planning tools, and funding solutions. There are calls to action, and these can be customized so that you can have families schedule a tour or an assessment right from this dashboard. Companies that are using Rubric report that 43% of their prospects that take this assessment share the results with the community, and that turns traffic into leads. Rubric can be used to enhance your website and increase lead generation, and it can also be used to re-engage cold leads and with pay-per-click campaigns. And I like that. I like the fact that, especially re-engaging cold leads, because mostly we're so busy managing new leads and hot leads that it's really hard to figure out how to re-engage with the lead base that's been kind of labeled as colder or older. So being able to send out an email with a link to this assessment tool is a great strategy to re-engage folks. That's really simple to implement and try to get them, back into that conversation. And pay-per-click campaigns, they can be expensive, paid search, and people are much more likely to do an assessment where they can kind of discover for themselves, what their situation is and what the choices are than just a generic kind of advertorial about your company or brand. We think that Rubric offers a unique and innovative way to generate new leads, re-engage existing leads, and also be a helpful resource to prospects and referral sources. Once referral sources know that you have this tool, they'll be likely to send people over just so that they can use it. If you have questions for the panel regarding Rubric, you can enter them into the questions box on the GoToWebinar dashboard, and we will answer them at the end. Another low-cost strategy to consider is adding live chat to your website to provide 24/7 sales coverage. It is one of the only solutions that can be activated today and start generating leads tomorrow. And since these leads are generated by your own organic traffic, the leads are exclusive and unshared. Prospects visit community websites because they have questions, but often providers spend a lot of money to drive traffic to the website, but when prospects get there, they kind of get stuck. They cannot find the information that they want quickly and easily. And since the average attention span is only about 8 seconds, they will bounce to a competitor or a third-party website to continue their search. Another awesome benefit of live chat is that prospects qualify themselves just by engaging in chat. It may be a small percentage of your overall visitor volume, but it is the most qualified. They're serious, they have questions, and they're willing to reach out for help. And the best news is that the conversions are very high. We have about 100 communities that are Senior Living Smart members using live chat, and we're finding that an average of 45% of all chats will convert to a lead. So they will go through a qualification process. They will agree to have somebody follow up with them. They will agree to be transferred directly to the community. And I think that's what's cool is that the technology now exists for chat hosts to be able to say, are you by your phone? You're asking great questions. I think it would be a good experience for you to talk to somebody at the community directly. And if you're by a phone, then they can go ahead and transfer and have the community team call that lead while they're still on the chat. And even more compelling is the fact that 20% of all chats will actually schedule a tour right from the chat experience. So it's just about engaging them and giving them, a way to start the conversation. So here's how it works. A code is installed on your website, very simple, and that activates a chat box, and that can be branded for you. It can be designed with your brand colors. You can choose some kind of a beginning conversation, like how can I help, or let me know if you have a question. And when the prospect initiates the chat and poses a question, the chat host then has access to a custom knowledge base for each community. So they're able to answer frequently asked questions, and they're also able to show empathy and build trust. So the goal is to either transfer the prospect to the community team directly from the chat interaction, or even better, to get a commitment to tour with a scheduled date and time. Leads can be sent to the community through a CRM integration, or using a form field already on the website, or emailed with all the contact information with a transcript of the entire conversation. We measure success carefully using these metrics. We want to measure the impact of increasing organic lead generation. We want to measure the ability to increase scheduled tour generation from website visits. Also, reducing third-party lead cost is always a priority for our members, and increasing move-ins from organic lead sites, and also just generating really exclusive and unshared leads, because most of the lead gen that's available to providers now is shared with their competitors. So you may get a lead, but you know that 5 to 7 of your nearest and dearest competitors, you got the same lead. But these are off your website traffic, so they are yours and they are unshared. We work with the communities to establish pre-live chat benchmarks for the number of leads and tours generated from website traffic before adding live chat, and then we compare the results after 4 to 6 months of data and trends. We have chosen SiteStaff as our chat partner because they hire college-educated Americans who are hired for empathy, and they are trained in senior living discovery skills. They customize the knowledge bases to personalize the interactions, and part of their training process is to learn about the company culture, mission, and values to be able to present their better and different story. As a follow-up to this webinar, we will be sending out a case study with some data to share with you. As a follow-up to this webinar, we will be sending out a case study with some data to share with you. SiteStaff has over 100 communities using live chat and generating low-cost leads. If you have any questions for SiteStaff, please enter them into the questions box in the dashboard so Jonathan can respond to them during the Q&A. Now on to our last strategy. Floor plans, room planners, and site maps work well for prospects in every stage along their journey. One of the top of mind questions in the awareness stage is, where am I going to live? In the planning stage, families are trying to figure out what furniture to bring and how to set up the apartment. We want prospects to be able to visualize themselves living in our community. So adding these resources to your website will increase the prospect's time on site, bring them back, and encourage sharing with families and other decision makers. Google Analytics are embedded, so you will be able to measure the ROI and the level of engagement of your website visitors. Next-Gen Tools offers the only fully responsive and mobile solution on the market. I was speaking with a provider last week, and they just launched a new website, and they were not able to put their floor plans on the new website because they was not mobile friendly, could not be enabled because it was using old, outdated Flash technology that was no longer supported by Adobe. So it's important to use the latest technology. Room planners are perfect for prospects who are in the planning and action stages. They can arrange their furniture, they can print and share with family members and even the movers on move-in day. These room planners are interactive and they will keep website visitors on your site for an average of 6 minutes. And this is a tool that they can share and save and come back to. Keeping prospects on your website and bringing them back to your site will increase lead and tour conversion. So let's see it in action. So this is an example of a 3D floor planner, room planner, and families can go in and they can trade out furniture and they can try different configurations, figure out which furniture will work and where to place things, and just keep moving it around until they kind of get it the way that they want. Kind of put this in the little TV in there. They can clear and start again. They can start with a blank floor plan, or they can start with a 3D floor plan and just change things out. And then when they figured out where all the furniture goes, they can go ahead and share it. They can share it on Facebook, and isn't that great for social sharing? They can also send it as an email to other family members. They can save it to come back to. They can print it out. And they can even create a little mini brochure so they can see how it looks. And in addition to floor plans and room planners, site maps can be integrated into a website. Print versions can be incorporated into marketing collaterals, and they can also be formatted as signs for a visual overview of the entire community and placed in the hospitality suite and leasing office to use when meeting with prospects on site. So we've covered a lot today, and the good news is that you do not have to do it all right away. Choose one or two strategies and measure the impact, and then continue evolving your website as time and budget allows. We have vetted many companies looking for these types of tools and that have selected this group as our best of breed providers. And the good news is they all offer preferred pricing to Senior Living Smart members. So Andrea, what are some of the questions that have come in?
Okay, one of the questions, and this is for Andrew Stark with Next Gen Tools. If a community is interested in getting a site map, but they don't have the original map and apartment numbers, how does that work?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. What we do is we use the amazing online mapping tools that are available nowadays, specifically Google Earth. So we go on Google Earth, find the property, do a screenshot of the property from a bird's eye perspective, and then we bring it into Adobe Illustrator, which we use for all our floor plans and site maps, which is the best program to utilize in designing a product like this. And we create the landscape, the buildings, everything for the property, and we leave the rooftops of the buildings white so that when we send it back to the property, they can put in the apartment numbers and make any other corrections needed. And then they send that back to us. We complete the design in 2 and 3D, but that lets us get the project 50% down the road and get it to the property so that they can complete their site map.
Great, thanks, Andrew. And somebody had asked what was the name of the site signage tool, and it is Next Gen Tools. So it's kind of, you see the logo on the slide.
Right.
And you can go onto their website, you can go onto Senior Living Smart's marketplace and go ahead and look them up and get some more information.
And Andrew, we have another question for you. Do you see more IL using floor plans versus assisted living and memory care, or is it equally spread out along all product types?
I've seen it spread out, but our clients are typically invested in all of those areas. But independent living, I think, is probably the largest area that we've seen the room planner be utilized in. And a good example of that is if anybody wants to take a look at ericksonliving.com on all of their 18 high-end properties, they're utilizing the room planner very aggressively and have done focus group studies and helped us really fine-tune the product for the senior living marketplace.
Terrific, thank you. The next one is for Jonathan with SiteStaff. They want to know, as a third-party live chat provider, how do you show the benefits and be able to explain care levels of a community without having actually been in the community or spent time in the community?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrea, and it's something that we field a lot. It's tough to be able to take something that you're so proud of and a culture that is unique to you and be able to have a third party, speak to that intelligently. And thanks to a three-step training process, which thanks to Senior Living Smart, they've really contributed to making us as good as we are in this space. We really understand our clients and their communities at really the highest level. First of all, we train our chat hosts on how to navigate the site. Customer support is a perception of live chat pretty often, and so we need to be able to serve in that capacity, to be able to provide links, directions around the website to be able to find information that they're looking for. Number two is very powerful, and that's the knowledge-based template, where we know senior living, but of course each one has their own heartbeat, and so we create, based off of a template, basically a community's own knowledge base, where we know about 95% of the information regarding continuum of care, dining services, things like that, but we really want to know what makes the community unique, different, and better, and we want to know the answers to the frequently asked questions that if that visitor was on the phone with the community, which obviously they chose not to be, what the answers to those questions are, and that allows us the opportunity to be able to build a rapport with that visitor and show empathy. And last but not least, we conduct a client instructional webinar with the community, and it could be a president, an executive director, a sales and marketing director, where we're understanding on a deeper level what their culture is. Why did they start in this business to begin with? We'd like to be able to paint a picture to the visitor of what the levels of care are and what the first impression is of walking into the community, and most importantly, what is their expectation of our chat hosts. Each one of them has a different sales strategy, and some can be less is more, and so they just want us to be able to set a tour, and they can deal with the rest when they get there. Some of them would like us to qualify on a basic level to make sure that they're a financially viable prospect. We don't want to waste the visitor's time, and we don't want to waste the time of the community as well. And so we really are there to complement the existing sales strategy that they have, not replace it or certainly get in the way. Hopefully that answers your question.
And I just have a follow-up to that, Jonathan. In terms of just the data and the conversions and, how it impacts time on site or bounce rate or, conversion, you have you had a community on for a year or year and a half that's kind of has some updated, kind of conversion rates. So you mind just sharing just the high points of how that's impacted that provider? They're a multi-site provider. They have about 22 or 24 communities. But can you give us kind of a high level?
I'd love to. And we have a case study that is available for download, or you can request the information on our website. I'm happy to be able to give it to you. The community company that we're discussing is Belmont Village. And over the course of roughly a year to a year and a half, the data is fantastic. And I'll just cover the high points, as you mentioned, Deb. First of all, we almost doubled their time on site, which was a nice and unexpected gift that we had gone in. They had requested that. They also requested a decrease in their bounce rate, which we did substantially by over 10%. But over the course of a year, we had 31 move-ins and over 150 tours. And year to date in 2016, because we continue to serve them, We've already generated 10 move-ins over the first 3 months of the year, and we've done it at a fraction of the cost of the other lead aggregators that are out there, and at a higher close rate, which is terrific. So I'm happy to share those details. All you have to do is request it through Senior Living Smart and the landing page that they've created for for this panel discussion. We're happy to provide it and would love to field any follow-up questions.
The last one is one I think I can probably answer, which is, how is live chat billed? And if I get it wrong, Jonathan, you can let me know. But we offer two different kind of options. One is the flat fee monthly billing, and that is based on pretty much overall website traffic, and then the hours of coverage that you want from site staff. So typically, people in the industry want coverage from either 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, or 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. To 10 p.m. But as we know, families are looking, at all hours, and so there is 24-hour coverage available as well. And then for Senior Living Smart members, we offer a free live chat option where we only charge for performance. So when we schedule a tour, or if they're not tour ready, but they're qualified and they give us all their contact information, we can do a pay for results and actually offer 24/7 live chat on your website at no cost. So a lot of people like to pay for performance. Some other folks like that consistent monthly fee. So we've offered both options.
Great.
And then for Judy, Rubrik. Can you tell me if, so you have the two surveys, one is around, is it safe to drive, or basically, is it time to take away the keys? And also one that is, more, is it time to get help? Have you found that you are generating different scores? So for instance, is the driving one, are you getting lower scores with people who may be more appropriate for independent living versus is it time to get help? Are they falling into higher scores, more severe needs, and may be more appropriate for assisted living or memory care?
Well, that's a good question. We find most of the users that come to Rubrik are at the early to mid stages of the care continuum. So they're probably dealing with multiple issues that center on, again, what we consider one of the first gateways, and that is taking away the car keys, as you say. Is it time for us to consider alternatives to driving and having that conversation? We see people at that same point also dealing with the issues that are associated with care concerns. Should the person no longer be able to drive? Is this a time that we look at a senior housing alternative? And so we usually find people at a care level pretty much in the same space at that point, where if they're still driving, they're still having a social life and they're still experiencing a typical daily habits. But there are concerns either that they're self-reporting or their caregivers are concerned about that should they no longer be able to drive because there are concerns with ADLs or some IADLs that maybe this is time that we look at, is it time to get help? So we move, it's a natural thing for our users to move from, is it safe to drive, taking that assessment tool, moving on through, is it time to get help, and looking at the levels of care options available to them in senior provider environments. And then finally, our newest tool, which is just to be released, it's in beta now, and that is it dementia, which puts people in an informing state about, okay, things are starting to happen to my person that are beyond what we were originally seeing, daily forgetfulness, and the things associated with natural aging. And we're now starting to see things that might be a little bit more disconcerting, and we should consider either memory care or talking to our physicians about some kind of extended care.
Great.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great, Judy. Thank you.
Great.
One of the questions that just came up is Rubrik hosted on the website, or do people have to leave the website?
No, the way that it works is twofold. If a rubric tools can sit and be branded right on a customer provider website. So what we recommend is a customer comes to your website, they're still in the research phase, so they click on the rubric button, which asks if they're still trying to decide. And this will launch your version of the rubric decision tool. The customer will then go on and answer 24 questions about their situation, care needs, finances, and readiness, and then they'll opt to share those results directly with you, the provider. You instantly get an email report with these results and can now have a productive and informed conversation about their needs and options. And as Debbie said earlier, that between 40 and 50% of the people that click on that rubric button will share their results with you. So it's and there's a lot of content associated with our tools that allows them to spend, on an average, as she said, 9 minutes. 9 minutes of engagement happens on your site where you learn the answers to 24 very data-rich questions.
Yeah. I really like too about all of the solutions we've talked about today. It's not only about, just overall lead generation and organic lead generation that's exclusive and unshared. That's important. But also it's how do we get to families that earlier in their journey? How do we, right now, we're all focused on those kind of urgent, crisis-driven needs, and they end up being, very high acuity, short terms of stay, a lot of churn, a lot of risk and liability. So if we can start developing relationships with prospects before they're in crisis and can have conversations about making this a lifestyle choice before they're in crisis, we'll end up having higher functioning residents who can enjoy, living in our communities longer. It helps stabilize our occupancy, and it provides a better lifestyle and a better opportunity for residents and families. So I think that's important. Mm-hmm. You have one more, Andrea?
Yeah, we've got another question that came in for next gen tools. How do the floor plans that communities just put up on standard floor plans that they put up to download, how does that differ from your company's floor plan design?
Well, our floor plan designs are done in a vector software, which is Adobe Illustrator. So they're a higher resolution. If the prospect is zooming in on the floor plan, they will not see any pixelation. Additionally, when you connect the floor plans we create in Illustrator into our interactive room planner on your website, then they're able to spend on an average 6 minutes moving the furniture around the floor plan to see what furniture might fit in their new place. And it is to quote some focus groups that were done, a therapeutic experience for them to be able to actually feel what it would be like to move into that space and what items they can bring and what items they might not be able to bring.
Great. And we had just one question just pop up for you, Andrew. Does it work on a mobile phone or an iPad?
Thanks. Yes. We were the first room planner, and it seems like we're still the only room planner, standalone room planner in senior living as well as multifamily that works on mobile devices. The technology to stay away from is Adobe Flash. Adobe Flash, all these types of tools for many years, including the home buying market, were using Adobe Flash. And about 3 years ago, Adobe Flash stopped supporting mobile devices. And so building in different technologies like HTML5 and JavaScript and jQuery, we're able to give the experience fully on all mobile devices, including all cell phones.
Terrific. So I think we got everybody's question. And we're just going to wrap it up. Thank you, Debbie, and thank you for the panelists for answering the questions and explaining in detail some of the great opportunities to make your website into a lead generator. If you have any questions, you can contact Debbie directly at dhoward@seniorlivingsmart.com. Once you leave today's webinar, you'll receive a survey on the presentation, and we'd appreciate it if you would complete that and provide your feedback. You'll also receive a follow-up email within 20 to 48 hours with a link to view a recording of today's webinar, a copy of the presentation, and some additional handouts. On behalf of Senior Living Smart and our presenters, thank you for joining us today. And a reminder that our next webinar will be on Thursday, May 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Online Research Behavior, a masterclass presented by April Lamont, founder of Lead Insight. Thanks for joining us today and have a great rest of your day.